He ran for federal office with the Canadian Action Party, and he has a few things to say to us. Brad Rhodes.
Thank you. I would just like to address a rather pertinent issue regarding today's event, and that would be free speech. We need to understand, in terms of free speech, that there has always been an attempt by the predatory ruling elite to have a monopoly on information, and specifically on free speech. If you think times have changed that much, I'm afraid you're probably mistaken, because there still is a very powerful and a very deliberate monopoly on information that is going on today. You can trace it back through history. I mean, they've convinced people that the earth was flat, with the flat earth concept. As far as Galileo being forced to recant the scientific fact that the earth goes around the sun and had to suggest that the sun was going around the earth. This is indicative of a long history of manipulation and monopoly of truth, okay? There's always been, in these scenarios, an elite priesthood, untouchable, unquestionable, who always insist that you are either a liar, or you are a blasphemer, or you are a person of hate speech, or any of these labels is what they do. They throw that out at you as soon as you begin to question their authority. They don't like that. Today we have attacks on freedom of speech. There's very cute little phrases like climate change denier. You know, it's just like this. You can't argue with you. Well, I know. Let's just call them names. There's a good argument. Yeah, I'll just name call, man. That's going to shut you up, right? Well, since when is name calling any part of a scientific discipline? It seems to me, okay, I don't have a lab coat, I don't have a name tag, sorry. I'm not that much of an icon for you. However, it seems to me that when it comes to science, okay, that a scientific principle is that a scientific fact should be something you can demonstrate again and again and again. Okay, if it's true today, it'll be true tomorrow. It'll be true the next day. That's a basic scientific principle. Okay, am I being outrageous? Okay, so if this is the situation, then how is it that anybody can call themselves a scientist and say that the consensus is absolute, the science is complete, there is no more debate? You know, thank you, Al Gore. Thank you, David Suzuki. Thank you, all of these wonderful scientific icons that we have so much respect for. You see, things haven't changed. You had your priesthood of old, and they always insisted that they had the truth. They exclusively had the truth, okay? If you sailed off through the Strait of Gibraltar and kept going, you're going to fall off the earth. Okay, now was that because they didn't know that the earth was round? That they could talk down to the peasants about what the facts were? No. It was because they wanted to control the information so that people didn't go sailing across the ocean and change their prerogatives. It's always a matter of controlling people by controlling the message, by controlling the media. It used to be done through the churches, now it's done through peer group science community. All right? If somebody is telling you, okay, that it is a scientific fact and you may not question it, I don't know, I'm just going to take a wild guess on this one. I think they're lying, okay? I think they're trying to control the message. I think they are deliberately trying to deprive me of my prerogative to constantly examine and re-examine things based on the scientific principle that if it's true now, it'll be true tomorrow, and it'll be true the next day, and I can always question authority. Because that's what intelligent people do. Okay? Now, based on our previous history, with all the lies that we have been exposed to, all the flat earth ideas, all the, can't go through Galileo's recantation and all the history of disinformation. It seems to me that we cannot afford to, at this time or any time, allow people to tell us what the truth is and then tell us to shut up about it because the consensus is in and there's no more room for debate. I challenge such totalitarian dictatorship demeanor. It is repugnant to an intelligent mind. You see what they do, okay? It's like in World War I. You weren't allowed to be a person walking down the street unless you had an explanation as to why you weren't in the front line getting shot with machine gun fire. Okay? You're not allowed to question authority now unless you have a name tag on your badge and you're a peer-reviewed priesthood member. This is the same tactic with Galileo's recantation. You may not question authority because you are not an authority. Well, excuse me. We the people must be the authority, okay? We the people must never concede to an authority established on nothing but totalitarian principles. Freedom demands examination. Freedom demands freedom of speech under any circumstance. It's no big deal to have freedom of speech concerning some sort of a topic that isn't controversial. That's not freedom of speech, people. That's just consensus. Freedom of speech is challenged when people talk about things that are not popular. This is when you have to say, okay, I may not agree with what you say, but I will defend your right to say it. That is freedom of speech. Calling names like hate speech, calling names like climate denier are not scientifically based arguments. This is how management controls the message. This is what perception management is all about. It's about cheap name calling. It's about shut up, sit down, believe what we say, and do what we say. Well, I'm afraid I have just a little too much respect for the principles of freedom of speech, and for the human spirit's ability to reason within its own capacity without the need for authority to dictate to us. So I would just like to remind everybody that we cannot afford to not defend free speech, especially the freedom of speech around topics that are not popular, like climate change. We need to keep the debate open. We need to understand that the Agenda 21 is based on falsehoods that are defended by people who shut down free speech. Stand up against the UN Agenda 21. Stand up against the enemies of free speech that just want to name call you. And I think you will be doing the great service for your children and your posterity. Thank you very much.